understand how to my plug talk.
You brought it to my attention, this new rule with the pickoffs, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that and also what you're looking forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of like everybody's touched base on, I think just the pacing of the game is going to be huge. I do eventually want to touch base on as well. I do think there's still some tweaking to be done with the pitch clock. I do think that the last thing I'd want to see is a game 7, a playoff game ending on a pitcher taking a second too long, but that's a different conversation. No, I think I'm really excited for the pace of the game. We're at a point now where the sport has some of the best athletes in the world. I'm looking at the Trey Turners, Xander Bogaerts, guys like that can make some outstanding plays, and I'm super excited to see how the shift just brings out the athleticism in some of these guys. So I'm really excited about that. In regards to the pickoff attempts, that's a rule that's not really being highlighted in a lot of articles and podcasts and things like that. So I really wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, that essentially part of the pace of the game is a pitcher only gets 3 pickoff attempts. You get your first one, your second one, and if your third one is not successful, it's considered a balk. The runner advances to the next base, essentially. And I think that's really interesting because I think what their mindset was with that was, with a pickoff attempt, it resets the pitch clock, right? So what they wanted to do was kind of circumvent that by saying, okay, if you're going to do that, you only get 3 attempts. You try once, you try twice, you don't get it the third time, that's a runner, that's an advancement. So I'm really excited to see how that gets implemented as well, too, especially for some of the vets that, I'll pick on a guy like Rich Hill. He played for the Dodgers for a few years. He was notorious for, picking off like 5-6 times before even throwing a single pitch, So I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I was just thinking about this just now. Isn't that also a rule with the batter and how many times they can step out of the box when they're at the plate?
Yeah, I did see something about that. I think I don't quote me on the number, but I'm pretty sure it's probably only like once or twice they're able to step out.
That sounds right. And it's interesting because when I was kind of doing my show prep today and we were all texting, you go on MLB.com and they have a whole little section about the new rules this year. And they really only highlight the pitch timer, the shift restrictions, and the bigger bases. I thought that was very interesting, but it totally makes sense that those two things would kind of go hand in hand with the pitch clock. For anyone who isn't aware specifically, it's 15 seconds with the bases empty and 20 seconds with the runners on. And then the violations are obviously an automatic ball or strike, depending which player is at fault, because the timer is for both the pitcher and the batter, I believe, the batter to get into the box and be ready to take the pitch. And it's been interesting. I was talking with Ian earlier this week. There's some pitchers that are already taking advantage of this and honestly kind of seem to like it. I saw Zach Greinke. He was kind of playing some mind games where he ate up like the full 15 seconds before he threw his pitch. And then as soon as the batter got set the next time, he launched one right down the middle. Tallman, you were a baseball player, you were a catcher. How would you feel about playing with a pitch clock out there?
As a catcher, you're always kind of ready to go, especially when you're down on your knees. I think the catchers are going to love it because shit, does it hurt sometimes? Granted, the pros don't wear, they wear a little bit to help them, but like a little padding, like a knee saver, right? But might help them not squat as much. So the catchers are going to love it, I'm sure. I don't think it's going to really have a big impact. It's really going to help some of these people, actually stay focused in the game and not waste a bunch of time. So I don't think it's going to be a huge impact. You just got to change, just got to learn how to deal with it.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm sure there's going to be mixed feelings. Some guys are going to hate it. Some guys are going to love it. But I like, Zach Greinke, he's not a young pitcher. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but he's picking it up and running with it. Mike, what do you think out of these 3-4 rule changes we've been talking about? Which one do you think is going to have the biggest impact on baseball going forward?
Overall, it's probably going to be the pitch timer, but I'm really excited to see how the shift restrictions really come into play, to be honest with you. Now you have to have 2 infielders on each side of second base, and they need to have both feet on the dirt as the pitch releases. So it's going to keep guys moving, and we're going to see a lot more squeakers back down between first and second baseman. Whereas, the past couple of years, I think it was starting to get stale when you always knew like a big left-handed hitter who always pulled the ball. You got 3 guys set up, and it basically was never a chance if the ball went on the ground. So I'm excited to see how that kind of comes into play, because the more action on the base paths, the better for the game, because that's what we want to see. We want to see those steal attempts. We want to see those pickoffs only to a certain amount of an extent. I really do like that as well. I think that's going to have a big impact on pushing the game pace as well. So I'm excited to see what happens with the shifts, and hopefully guys will start to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And I heard that was a big thing, is that they just want to increase the athleticism. I like what you said there, that it was kind of getting stale. I know, was it, Ian, help me out here, was it DJ LeMahieu where the teams would literally shift to the whole other side of the field and we're just picking him apart? Or was it a different Yankees player?
I feel like it might have been Donaldson, honestly. I think
Okay.
they used to shift to the right against him, but definitely, yeah. I mean, that's going to be a thing where, you're giving them that gap now with the shift restrictions. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. And certain managers that come to mind that definitely used the shift a lot, leaned on it heavy, like Kevin Cash on the Rays. Like, they got to come up with something new to, circumvent the fact that, they don't have the most athletic guys, or they don't have a way to beat teams that they shouldn't be beating. So it's back to the drawing board for them. I think it's going to be very interesting going forward, seeing that, and going back and looking at old footage of baseball games in the 70s and 80s before the shifts was even a thing. I think you see some of the cooler fielding plays for sure from that era, and I'm excited to see something a little more towards that again.
The last one I kind of want to talk about with these rule changes is just highlighting the bigger bases. They're going from 15 inches to 18 inches. And the intention is that they notice that it reduced the amount of injuries in minors when you have one guy with this foot on the bag and another guy running in. But Raymond, did you see maybe any unintended consequences of increasing the base size?
No, I don't think so. I think, honestly, I mean, it makes sense. I know a lot of older heads in the baseball world, clown on a lot of these guys wearing the big oven mitts to try to slide on the bases and things like that. At the end of the day, player safety is always going to be a big part of it. You talk about the NBA and other sports that are emphasizing so many aspects of the game, such as load management. The last thing you want is your favorite player, seeing the advantage with all these new rule changes, slide into the base and get stepped on and misses a week or 2 weeks, So I'm super excited for the bigger bases. I don't really think it's going to make a big difference to the average fan, but to those that actually watch the game and are able to really appreciate everything about it, even an inch or two on the base, it makes a world of a difference when you're having those bang bang plays. I'm thinking even on, how was it? I think it was like a World Baseball Classic game, even, that it was like a split second hair where the foot almost touched at the same exact time that the ball went into the glove. I'm thinking of plays like that. That could get affected with a bigger base. So I think it's going to be good for the game for sure.